Hi, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Bree,
We're the PR team.
behind the Theatre Downstream.
For our 6th season, we wanted to get to know the people behind the characters. We wanted to get real. Little Women is the final production of the Theatre Downstream's 6th season. We began our conversations by interviewing Jill Barnes-Moore, one of the founders of TTD, and the director of the upcoming production, Little Women. Jill and I had a wonderful time reminiscing about the origins of TTD, including why she feels founding the Theatre Downstream was so important for our community. She also discusses her experiences directing and acting and what the story of Little Women means to her, including which March sister she most identifies with. It was a wonderful time to sit down with my good friend, and I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. Okay, well, welcome to Getting Real.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Can you tell me what your name is and what is your role in Little Women?
My name is Jill Moore, and I am the director of Little Women.
Very nice. And Ms. Moore, what is your day job and how long have you been there?
I am a teacher at Henry County Middle School. I teach 8th grade language arts, and I've been doing that for 14 years.
Oh, wow. So how long is a typical teaching career?
Used to. Most teachers would stay until they retired.
And what is that usually?
27 years.
Really? 27? Why 27 instead of like
know.
25 or 30?
I don't know. Like the rule, it's like 27 years, or there's some other formula that they have, and I can never remember what it is.
What did you want to be growing up?
Something in the arts. Like I didn't know exactly what, but like I always knew I wanted to do something creative. Always drawn more toward theater than like movies or stuff, and writing. But very quickly realized that that did not pay, or it wasn't a reliable way to support myself. So that's when I got and started thinking about doing education, which I also always was kind of interested in. Like those two things were sort of always tandem.
And you were actually getting a second degree, is that correct?
Well, kind of, yeah. What it is used to, you had to have your master's to be a teacher, or you had to get it within a certain amount of years. They've changed that too. Now you don't. So I had my master's in education. And then the way Kentucky works, you have different ranks. So you start off at like a rank 4, that's just a bachelor's, and then you move up to different ranks, and then your pay increases. It also increases by how many years you teach.
Very nice.
So if I get a second master's, you get a rank 1.
So does it go backwards? If you're rank 4, that sounds like it's counting down.
Right, that's the lowest, and then you work your way up.
I gotcha.
So rank 1's the highest you can get, so that's a pay raise. Also, next year I'll be 15 years, so that's another pay raise.
Nice.
Yeah, it is, but then when you hit, I think it's 20 years maybe, you're done. Like you don't get anything else after.
So for those last 7, you're just coasting?
Or is it 25 years? But your retirement, unless they change it, your retirement is based on your last 3 or 4 years teaching, something like that.
Okay.
So yes, I'm getting another degree.
In what?
Special education.
What do you think you're going to do with that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
My goal would be to do, I mean, I could work in special ed because they always need special ed teachers. The problem with that, though, is they need them, but they can't afford them because the budget, they pay them out of a different budget than they pay other teachers. So we always need special education teachers, but often cannot hire them.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it is, because there's an underservice there. Mostly I'm interested in behavior.
Is that why you
stuff.
were drawn to the special ed?
Yes. So it's a degree.
Is it okay to call it special ed, or you
It's
need
special-
to say special education?
We say special ed.
Okay.
Probably you should say special education or special needs.
Okay.
If you're going to, like what you're going to put out there publicly. So like the degree would be learning and behavior disorder is kind of what the degree's in. So I'm more interested in kids with behavior needs.
And what drew you to that?
I don't know, just the ones I've always worked with in school. I just felt like that was just sort of, those are the kids that I worked well with. There's nothing against gifted kids.
Yeah.
My kids are gifted. Well, 2 of them, not Arden.
Well, maybe she will be. You don't know yet.
They're all on the spectrum somewhere. They're not, I don't relate to them as well. And they're fall under the special education umbrella as well. Gifted and talented is considered special education.
Why?
Because it's special needs. Special education has taken on this connotation that it has to do with kiddos that are
Developmentally?
low. Right. But it doesn't, what it means is kids that just need something in addition to regular curriculum.
I did not know that.
Gifted and talented kids do as well.
Tell me a little bit, you've mentioned your kids. Tell me a little bit about your family.
So I have 3 kids. Jack is my oldest. He's 18 and applying to colleges right now. And then Mary is the middle one. She's 16 and learning to drive. And then we have Arden, who is 5, and she's very good at it.
And Arden will always have a special place because Arden is as old as the Theatre Downstream.
She is.
Because Jill was expecting Arden when she directed the very first show.
She was expecting Arden when she agreed to do the theater, but she didn't know. And had she known she was expecting Arden, she might not have agreed to start a theater.
So Arden is our special girl.
But yes, I was 6-7 months pregnant.
Yes, I think it was 7 months during Moon Over Buffalo. But you handled it really well. I don't know that I could have directed a show at 7 months pregnant.
Actually, at that point, that's like for me, with all of my pregnancies, once I got past 4 months, like the first few months is really, really hard because I'm very tired and grumpy. And then at the very end, you're just ready to feel like this needs to be over. Like, really, but that's like just like the last month. In between, I'm good.
So was Arden, because there's such a large age difference, was Arden a surprise or was she planned?
Well, kind of. Arden's with my second husband, Yancey, and when we got married, he had never been married, never had kids. He was a confirmed bachelor. And so it was kind of one of those things where I'm like, I'm good, but if you want to, we could try. I'm 42 years old, 41 at the time, but 42 when she was born. So, kind
of now or never.
Yeah. Like, and literally, like, I talked to my doctor about it, and she's like, it might happen, but she gave me like this big long discussion about eggs and how how many you have at certain points of your life. I don't remember. So I was like, we can try. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to go to like any great lengths.
Right.
If it doesn't happen, he's like, okay, sure, why not? And it did. I was kind of hedging my bets, but that's fine.
How long did it take?
Like not long at all.
I was going to say, sounds like it was pretty immediate. You're like, wait a minute.
Right. That one egg's like, yes, I've been
waiting.
Holding on for you.
Yeah. Art's like, here I come. Look out, world. That is funny.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about your family?
We have 2 cats, Lamb Chops and Smokey.
Well, they're family.
Yes, they are. And then, of course, my husband, Yancey, who's very supportive of the Theatre Downstream.
That's so wonderful. It's really, really good to have a supportive spouse.
It is, yes. And he's grateful and blessed because he's one of those guys who doesn't say I'm supportive, but his actions and his show me otherwise and his little side comments, like he really means it. I will say though, when I decided to step down and not do as much, which was pretty early on because I recognized that I just wasn't going to be able to give you guys.
And you just had a toddler.
Right.
A baby.
And I needed to go back to school, which I was also going to do before I got pregnant. But he never said anything, very supportive, but when I told him my thinking and my decision, he did kind of go, oh, thank God. And he's like, no, I love it. And I would totally support it. And I'm like, I know you would. I would never have known, but he was relieved.
Yeah.
And now just once a year, he knows that starting in January, he won't see me again until the end of February.
Well, that's okay.
And that's all right.
It's good.
It's good.
Good to have
because you got to have your own stuff too.
Yeah, I think so. What is something that people may not know about you?
I don't know. People probably do know this. I don't know. But when I tell people, they always sound surprised that I'm not originally from Kentucky. I was born and raised in Texas.
I forgot that.
And
that is surprising.
And the town that I was raised in is Pasadena, Texas. It's on the ship channel, Houston Ship Channel. And the nickname is Stinkadena because it smells so bad because of all the chemicals and stuff coming off and there's all the plants are down there. And yeah, I'm amazed. I can't think the last time I was back there, a couple of years ago. It was when we did Still Magnolias when my cousin passed away.
Okay.
I go back there and I'm like, I can't believe I grew up in this disgusting
Probably
industrial.
You were used to it,
I had no idea.
Yeah, you were nose blind, as they say.
Well, and also just the way it looks, like it's just strip malls and it's just, yeah.
So what brought you to Kentucky?
My dad got a job here.
Okay.
So we moved in the middle of my 7th grade year.
7th grade. I moved here the day after I finished 6th grade. Moved back here.
Right.
So I was born in Eminence and moved to Louisville when I was 6 and came back when I was 12. Can you tell me what your acting origin story is? What got you into acting?
Yeah, actually it was fairly late in life. High school, I think it was just like an understudy for a play or something. But really it wasn't until college. there was auditions for Christmas Carol that they were doing at the community theater in Danville, because I went to Center. And I was just like, I don't even know. I think it was just on a whim. I'm like, I guess I will. And I went and I auditioned. And I remember after I was done, the director, who was also one of the theater professors at Center, after I was done with my audition, he just looked at me. He goes, "Where have you been?"
Wow, that's complimentary.
Like, oh, well, that was nice. Yeah. So just kind of from there.
So you got the part, I'm assuming.
I did. I was Belle and then Fred's wife. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's a little party scene when they're playing charades and they're making fun of Scrooge. So I did those two.
So it's kind of a supporting part?
Yeah, Belle is Scrooge's fiance.
Oh, okay.
And there's just like the scene.
I don't remember any of their names.
It's like the scene.
I think this scene, I've seen like the Muppets version,
right.
and Scrooge McDuck. I've seen those kind of things.
Right.
So I don't see no.
So that would be Belle would have been Daisy when Donald, and she broke up with him.
Okay,
that part.
Now it all makes sense. So it sounds like then acting was something that was kind of in the back burner, but you just thought, I'll try it as a whim.
Yeah, pretty much. And also there was really not a whole lot of opportunity for me up until that point. Like I said, they had some things. We didn't have a drama club in my high school. They didn't do plays on a regular basis.
I was late to it too.
So it just really wasn't, there was no opportunity. Like I said, I think they did started doing some community theater at high school, and I just like I said, I think I was an understudy or something. Like I didn't even audition. I'm like, can I just hang out and check this out? So that was really why I wasn't interested. I just wasn't exposed to it.
Do you have a dream show or a dream role?
I always have difficulty answering what's your favorite or what's your dream, because I have several. I would say some of my shows that I would like to see done or be a part of would be On Golden Pond. I love that. That play. I was actually thinking about that the other day.
I have seen the movie. I don't know that I've read the play yet.
I've read the play, but it's been a long time since I've read it. I also really like Neil Simon, and I know a lot of people don't, but I just think he's funny. It's a fun show to watch.
I think he's got good plays and bad plays, just like everybody.
Right.
There's good Neil Simon, and then there's Neil Simon.
Right. And then also I would say, you know what, if I had to put my top, it would probably be Shadowlands, the C.S. Lewis.
C.S. Lewis. Is that a play? Oh, I didn't know
I've seen it twice, actually. I've saw it in Actors Theater, and the woman who played Joy was...
Now this is about their relationship?
Yes. So it's about after when they are pen pals, and then they end up getting married, and she has a son, and then she dies.
Yeah. It's so sad.
But
and
the
then
woman who...
What did he say? What is his book about? It's so well written. Life with Joy or Life After Joy or something like that. The title is so pretty.
I can't remember what it is either, but no, the actor that played Joy at Actors Theater was, and I don't know, I can't think of her name, but it was the woman who played Ma in Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, okay. Caroline something?
But I can't think, I think that was her character's name.
Her character name was Caroline.
Yeah.
I don't remember her real name.
But she was awesome. Oh, she was so good. And then I saw it when I was traveling in England as well.
Oh, that's something I'd like to say one day. When I was traveling in England, I did X, Y, and Z. Have you seen the movie? I have not seen the movie. Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger?
I have. And it was good.
Yeah.
But the play was just so good. And the way that it was staged and everything was so good. That'd be a good one to do.
Well, do you have any, when you're in a play, do you have any tips for how you memorize lines? What's your method?
I do the one thing that they always tell you not to do, which is just read them over and over.
No, a lot of people have said that.
I know.
Truly.
But they'll say, they're like, don't do that. I read them over and over, and then I close my eyes and I say them out loud. When my eyes are closed and I'm saying them out loud, I have mentally picture the words like being burned into my brain. Like that,
That's what I think. That's sort of what Brian does. He says that he can picture it on the page, and he'll say top of the next page, starting here. So he kind of he visualizes the page. It's not necessarily photographic memory, but he thinks of it where it is on the page.
Yeah, and then once I've done that and feel like I'm doing okay with just saying stuff, then I'll run it with somebody. You have to run them with people. You can't just do them on your own. But that's sort of my process.
So once you're on stage as an actor, do you ever suffer from stage nerves? And if you do, how do you combat it?
Absolutely. I will say every single show I've ever been in, when I'm standing off stage to walk in for the first time, I can never, ever, ever remember what I'm supposed to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely have no idea what my line's supposed to be. And how I combat that is to know that every single time I have walked on, I have remembered my line. So I'm just like, you're fine. Once you walk on stage, you'll be fine.
And it always is.
Just stand here.
It'll come to you.
And then every once in a while, I'll also just first getting on stage for a few times, get, that little fluttery and panicky in your chest. Mostly I just try to focus on slowing down so that it doesn't come out through my voice.
Right.
Because nobody can see what's going on inside your body, but if you let it come out your voice, then they're going to know you're nervous.
Yeah. Why do you think why is it different rehearsing versus actually performing? Because for me, I don't get nervous during rehearsals at all. It's just kind of fun. And it's not any different other than there are just more people looking. So what do you think is that psychological difference?
It's just in your head because you have an audience. And also think because there's no takebacks.
Yeah, true.
Like, with rehearsal, even if you completely
botch it.
Yeah, screw up, still, right? You can start over, or you can keep going and be like, well, I'm not going to do that for real.
Yeah.
But then when it's for real, it's like, oh.
Now what?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to segue a little bit into, you've also directed for us a bunch. And what caused you to be interested in directing?
Because I was pregnant and I couldn't be on stage.
But you've been directing before then.
No, that was my first show.
You've been co-directing, though, for quite a few years.
Yes, I had been co-directing, but that's not the same thing.
At least introduced you to the world.
It did.
Yes.
But actually directing on your own, which Jurors was the first one. Well, I guess, I think Moon Over Buffalo, I still consider that co-directing because we were all just kind of in it together.
I kind of feel that way.
And you guys knew that I hadn't, that I didn't have a whole lot of experience, and I was
No,
gonna
not
need
even
support.
that. I feel like for Moon Over Buffalo, I feel like you were the one telling us. I feel like you were definitely the director, but I feel like we were all just working so hard to make it happen.
Right.
That
it was a group effort for sure.
It just was, okay, now what do we do? Now doing props in between and building the set. Russell was doing the set, and then we were just, it was a sprint just to get this thing mounted. But I still feel like you were the director because you would say, yeah, that looks good, or that, because we can't see it.
Right. I mean, you do have to have somebody out there in the
the shadows.
Yeah.
Going, George again. From the top.
Yeah.
And someone to say, be off book next week. And you're like, oh, man, this has only been like 2 weeks. She's notorious for getting you off book like real soon. So you say that Moon Over Buffalo was your first time directing. And you were co-directing for something like 10 years, right?
Not quite that long, but close, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the biggest difference?
Between co-directing and directing? I think for me personally, just not having that sounding board. I still can. I could still go, Lori's a great support, or if you're at a rehearsal, I can go and, hey, what did you think about this? But ultimately, I can't do that too much because I have to trust my instincts, and I have to be like, this is what you're going with. And just trust that if it looks really stupid, somebody will tell me.
And go, is that what you really want to do?
Right. You do realize they're doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that's mostly it, is just that sort of that back and forth that you don't always have. But it's not too terribly different. And in some ways it's easier, for sure.
Because you don't have to consult with anybody.
Right.
It can be just, this is what I want.
Right. And if it doesn't look good, then that's on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all valid. What do you find the most enjoyable about acting or directing?
Just getting to be creative. It's just fun to play.
My original question here was, why do you think theater is important? But I'm going to change it a little bit and say, since you are one of the founders of the Theatre Downstream, why do you think it was important that we started a theater for our area? Oh,
because there's so many incredibly talented people that would never get a chance to be involved in something like this if we didn't have the Theatre Downstream. Goes back to what I said about me personally. It wasn't that I didn't want to do stuff. I didn't have the opportunity. It didn't exist in my community. So to have that, and I also think to expose people in this community to other talented people that may not live here.
Yeah.
Because we have people that come in that, it's called a community theater. Community to me is not in the sense of where do you live. It's community as in a group of people getting together that share something.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have that influx of creativity and talent as well as to use what we have here.
Yeah.
And that creates the community.
I think one of the things Brian points out is when you have these semi-professional people come in, like, say, Cindy Smith or Chris Meyer, John Trueblood, all these people, it's so good for us who are not out there in the professional kind of world, and they are, to learn from them and to see them as an example and to go, oh, okay, so this is how you get to be a better actor. You can't learn how to be a better actor if you don't always surround yourself with people who are better at acting than you are. That's how you get better.
And what a compliment to our theater that they want to come and work with us.
I know.
Too. I think
I was so complimented.
We should be proud of that.
When Chris Meyer, who I think is just phenomenally talented, was Daddy Warbucks and has had Gaston, has had all these leads with us, and he came and played the role of Fernando and had 6 lines. And I kept saying, Chris, I am so grateful. He drove almost an hour to be in the summer show, and he said, I just like you guys, and I just like working with you, and I'm happy to do this. And that's just outstanding.
He only had 6 lines, but man, those facial expressions.
He's so good.
I swear, those eyebrows.
It's so good. That eyebrow was up in the rafters of his forehead.
It's like, I know exactly what you're thinking.
Yes. And that's what I mean. He took this role that you could think would be thankless, but was very important to the show. And it was so good because he just filled it with expressions. And I don't know, I can't say enough good about him. If you could wave a magic wand and change any one thing about the theater industry, what would you change?
The theater industry?
Yeah, just as a whole. Not necessarily like our theater, but just the concept of theater.
Quality theater would be more accessible as far as not just close by, but cost. It's so crazy expensive to go see anything.
Yes.
I think it would be a viable option for a lot more people if it didn't cost so much money.
For me, it would have. As a kid, now.
For me, it is now.
Now it is.
Right?
I don't have...
Like, if I want to take my entire... because Jack and Mary are into musical theater and theater, and if I want to take them and me, we're looking at $300.
Yeah.
I don't have $300. Yeah, that's more than I pay for groceries a week.
The most shows I get to see are the ones that I'm in or directing or watching at our theater because I just can't afford to go to Louisville.
Nancy's dad and stepmom have box seats, and they're giving us tickets. We'll get that every once in a while. They'll be like, hey, we can't go to this show. Here's some tickets.
I think that's probably part of why I was wanting to start. It's like, I'd like to see some shows, please.
Right?
Can we do it right here? All right. That's all I had for theater basics. Can you think of anything, Bree, that you would like to know? Do you want to know anything about the founding of the theater? From your perspective, this will be our last kind of theater basics.
Okay.
What do you remember about how the Theatre Downstream came about?
So you guys had helped Cooper. No. You guys did your film. You used the theater.
The Hepburn Girls.
Yes, for the Hepburn Girls. And so that's how you kind of crossed paths with Cooper. Russell. And then I remember him talking about you and Rachel and just, they're really cool, really talented. They've got some great ideas. And then you guys helped backstage with the Annie Get Your Gun.
And Best Christmas Pageant Ever. That was our first one.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And I'm laughing with Annie Get Your Gun because it turned out to be a great show, but it was, we had so many snow days, we missed so many rehearsals, and it was really, really tight to get that thing pulled off.
Yes.
But we did.
As always happens.
So and then I guess he came to me and he's like, they brought up the idea of doing a community theater. What do you think? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it'd be great. I love it. I'd love to be involved. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it really did.
Honestly, though, if it weren't, and maybe Rachel, I don't know, but it seemed like you would be the one that would always kind of keep pushing the snowball just a little bit.
Me, yeah.
To keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Because, I'm the kind of person where if somebody's going to be like, yeah, I'll do it, I'll be like, okay, I'll do it. But if it had have just kind of dropped and not really gone anywhere, I've been like, oh, shoot, that didn't work out.
Oh, darn.
And, Cooper's kind of the same way. But yeah, and then we, I guess, met at my house, right?
Yes, we did, yes.
Yeah.
And of course I was like, we need to film this. We need to document everything.
That's right. And I'm like, I'm pregnant. I don't want to be on a film.
But I'm really glad we did, because now we have this web series of how to start a theater with 4 people who may or may not know what they're doing. Why did you want to direct Little Women?
Well, obviously because I've read the book and it's a fantastic book. It's one of those books where just by title and when it was written, when I first read it, I was in high school, I was like, oh, this is going to be so stupid. And immediately started reading it and I'm like, how could this not be, like, this is completely not what I thought it was going to be at all. So that's part of it. It's just that. And then also because it was an opportunity to work with young actors again.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to, like, 12 Angry Jurors, there was none when we did. And then we did Something's Afoot, and there was none.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how I got my start, was working with the kiddos at the high school. Yeah. So I was looking forward to that. That's why I like theater camp so much, because I don't get a chance to do theater with young kiddos as much as I used to. So that was part of it. And I was really the only one that was left to do it.
That's true. That's very true.
Everybody else was like, I'm out.
It's my break time. Your turn. Not it. We all touched our noses.
Right.
And Jill's like, wait a minute.
Fine.
Or you're on the line and everybody steps backwards. And you're left.
That's what it is. It's like it's like chorus line.
That's funny. What do you think is the most intimidating part of bringing this classic story to the stage? Do you feel any intimidation about it?
Not really. The script that we've got is so well written. That's one of the reasons, because we looked at several versions, and that's one of the reasons that I liked this one, because I felt like it was so true to the characters. There was nobody where I'm like, oh, what? That doesn't really fit. Like, because that's the thing about something that people know so well. Then if you go away from that,
there's definite expectations.
Right.
If you know this story, there's certain things that you want to see.
Yeah, but I do think that there's also room to have the actors adapt the characters a little bit to the way they see them, because everyone's going to see them differently. I mean, they're not stereotypes.
That's good, though.
Yes.
I like that.
Probably it. It's just that it's so well liked and
so
so well known. And it's a big cast. It's the biggest cast I've ever worked with.
One of the things when we chose this play last year is, I forget how I found out that this movie was coming out, but I knew that the movie was coming out, so I was hoping that it would resurge interest in it, which would therefore feed, because sometimes it's a classic story and it kind of resurges in interest and people may not have heard of it, so I thought a movie would maybe help us. They say, oh, I just saw the film, I want to see the play. And you have recently seen the most current movie. What do you think is the biggest differences that people will come after seeing the movie, if they do, to see the play?
There's a scene that they have in the movie that they do not have in the play. And I don't know, should I do it's the burning of...
Yes, you can say that.
Yeah. So there's this, in the book and in the movie, they leave this scene in where Amy burns Jo's manuscript, her book.
Yes, and when we were reading adaptations, it was odd because it was sort of like they wouldn't include all of the, what I would call the benchmarks. There's where Jo cuts all her hair off.
That's in
or there. They would do where Amy burns the book. They wouldn't do both. And I thought, why not just put both of those in there? They're both what you expect.
But honestly, and you and I talked about this, I feel like that is a stretch for Amy's character. Like,
I burn the book?
I do. I've always felt that way. I feel like she's bratty and she's self-absorbed, but that's just cruel.
Yes.
And I don't think she's cruel.
Yes. I would never, as a person that's written and knows how hard it is to get something out, and there's no backup system.
Right.
That was just a notebook, and I don't think I could have ever forgiven my sister for that. I don't care how sorry you are.
And the way they make it work in the movie is she falls through the ice. Amy falls through the ice.
Yep, that's what happens.
And Jo has to rescue her, and so that's that moment where she's like, well, I almost lost my sister, so what's more important, my sister or my book?
In the PBS version, where Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter, she plays Jo, I really, really liked it. But the part that I didn't like so much is that the character they had of Amy was already in her 20s, and when she was playing the little kid, it was kind of weird.
This Amy was the same.
It was kind of weird. But then also, the way they portrayed her, she came across as a flat-out psychopath. Because they had her burn the book, and you could see her doing it.
They did it in the movie. They showed her too, and then afterwards she pretended like Jo was like, "Has anyone seen my book?" And she's like,
"Yes,"
with this little smile on her face, and I'm like, I just don't.
That's what they did in the PBS special. I was like, "Whoa, you're insane," and I don't think you need to be a part of this family.
Yeah, actually, that's another reason why I like the script is they didn't have that scene. Like I just didn't feel like it. It always just seemed a little.
It's hard to get over.
Yeah. But what we're talking about, the differences. Oh, and then also, when you and I talked about this, the movie is not linear, so it kind of jumps around in time. And at first I wasn't sure what I thought about that, because I just always, you think of the natural progression of the girls getting older and everything. It worked okay. It probably still wasn't my favorite way that they did it. It was just, to me, a little jumpy. But I think that's why they did Amy the same age, because they were jumping around like that.
Gotcha.
But the little girl scenes were a bit of a stretch. She had a great voice, though. Really husky voice. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I love husky voices. How do you think that the TTD version of Little Women is going to be different than other versions?
Well, one thing is, in this script, it's narrated by Josephine, which is Jo when she's older. And she is at a meeting, women's rights suffragette character, and she's at a meeting and she's talking about her childhood.
Okay.
So
that's the framework.
Yes. So in between the scenes, and like you were saying, sort of the iconic scenes that you think of, Jo's burnt dress and cutting her hair and those things, we have her narrating and sort of moving us through time.
Okay.
Because otherwise it would be like 5 hours long. So that's different. And it's also one of the things that I liked about this version. I like the way they set it up that way.
So you have not had any rehearsals yet.
Nope.
We were doing our interview during your Christmas break.
Right.
We wanted to do this before you got real busy. What are your feelings about your cast? Because you've had your auditions, you've cast the show, you've had your read through. What's your vibe that you're feeling?
Yes, we did have our read through. Oh, I'm getting a great vibe. Like, I think they're going to work really well together. A lot of them have worked together in other shows in the past, either with TTD or Things in Eminence or the high school, Henry County High School. So that helps, but, a lot of them haven't. But yeah, I think my main thing is I only do drama on the stage and I don't do it off stage. And by don't do it, I literally mean I do not. Like, it just doesn't happen. And so I think that there's always, you can get vibes from people, and I get a really good, positive family vibe. And that's sort of the theme, because it's about a family.
Is there anyone that was a surprise casting to you? Like, when you cast them, you're like, wow, I was not expecting this person to fit.
Yes. Cadence, who was playing little Amy, I just didn't know her, hadn't seen her on stage. And so when she came on and was reading the audition, I was very pleasantly surprised, because just, sometimes people give an audition and you go back and you have to think about it later for casting, and you have to look at other people, and you have to look at, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. It is not just about, oh, they were the best one on stage at that one moment. But she just gave a really pleasant audition and surprised me, because I hadn't seen her before, and it was nice.
I've seen her in a couple Eminence productions, and I always really liked her. She was very funny. She played one of the grandparents in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where she was just in a bed, but she just has this really fun voice that can be really funny, and I remember really liking her in that. And she was also, I forget her character's name, in Faith County. But again, she was very physically funny. So that was my experience having seen her. So I was glad to see that. That she.
And I think that ability came through in her audition for sure.
That's one thing I would like to, again, ask if you would like to answer is, what do you think is the biggest misconception about casting a show?
I think the biggest misconceptions, there's several, but people just don't understand all that goes into it if you've not done it. I would say one of them is how much just the way people look and sound sometimes can play into it. The ages, obviously, in this, ages were a really big deal, because we have girls that go from being girls to being married.
Right.
And so it was not, and Bear was so much older, and in the book he is, in the movie he is not.
He's not?
They made him young, and I did not like that, because I like that he's an older guy, because I think that fits Joe's personality.
It does. How old was he in the movie?
Oh, probably like, to me he looked like he was like in his 30s. Ooh. But that's coming from me, so maybe he was older, I don't know. But I don't think he was. Like, he didn't look old enough. And I know Matt's in his 30s, but actually no, I would say this guy was, now I want to look it up. Anyway,
he looked too close to Joe's age.
He did.
Okay.
So that was a big consideration for me. I really wanted Joe and Meg to at least be 18 years old. I just felt like that was important for me, just in my head. So that's something people probably don't realize, how much you have to look at that kind of stuff. For a show where you have people playing family, you do want them to at least look somewhat like each other. I think you either have to go all in or all out with looks. You either have to say, I'm going to just cast whoever, no matter what they look like, or I'm going to try and make them look like a family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's something that people often probably don't think about. It really isn't always just the person who gets up there and does the best audition on that stage, because the audition is a lot of other things. You look at conflicts.
Yeah.
You look at other shows. You look at, like, if we haven't worked with them before, and there was some people that auditioned for this that we had not worked with before, we look at their resume.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes we contact.
We've done that before too. We've called people and been like, hey, what was it like to work with this person? Because if you don't know, you just, you don't. It's
like a job, and you have to work with these people for the next several months, and you want to make sure it's
a
experience.
high risk, high stakes job.
Yeah.
Because if something doesn't work out and we're only rehearsing for 2 months, it's really hard to replace somebody when you're 2 weeks into something that only lasts for 2 months.
Yeah. Why do you think people should come see Little Women?
I think people should come see Little Women because I'm restating the question.
She's buying time. You don't have to do that. You can just say, give me a sec.
Yes, you do have to restate the question, because that's what I teach. You
have
to restate the question. It's a sweet show.
It is sweet. The last lines get me.
It's got a good message.
Yeah. What do you feel like the message is? Family?
The message, it's about family, but also about appreciating everyone for who they are. Like, I think that's one thing the sisters really do, despite the fact that they often argue or don't agree, they appreciate each other. And their mom, Marmee, appreciates them for who they are as individuals. Mm-hmm. And I think it's about that. But it's also a very simple show. And I like that, especially these days when things often are, in my opinion, way more complicated than they need to be. Yeah. It's nice to just sit there and be like, oh.
A sweet, simple story.
Right? This family loves each other. They have their tough times. They support each other anyway. Everyone is happy in the end.
I hope that's how our
Even
theater
Beth.
is. Even Beth. Poor Beth.
God bless Beth. So, yeah, I think mostly that's it. It's a really sweet, simple show with a good message, and I think people will be drawn to that.
I like that. Okay, we're going to move on to the rapid fires, which is all a rapid fire means is I ask you a question, you tell me the first thing that comes to your head. There's no wrong answer. If you could choose the next TTD show, what would it be?
Shadowlands.
Okay, good. What kind of roles do you prefer, comedy or drama?
Dramatic comedy.
Mm.
I do. The
dramedies are
laughter
good.
through tears is my favorite emotion.
It is. It is. Tell me about a time when you had a really bad day but had to perform that night. How did you get through it?
Honestly, I prefer, if I'm going to have a bad day, I would prefer to be on stage.
Yeah.
Because at least you can just be like, guess what? I'm somebody else for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave this person.
These problems.
Right?
They're having different problems that I know how are going to get fixed.
Exactly, because I know all the lines.
That's right.
So to me, that can sometimes be a blessing.
What was the biggest audience that you've ever performed in front of?
I have no idea. Probably at Center, but I wouldn't begin to imagine how many people would fill up that.
Like hundreds, thousands?
Oh, just hundreds, yeah.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. What behavior or habit that you had as a child have you gotten rid of as you've grown older?
Sucking my thumb.
I'm very grateful for that. That would be real bad if you were sitting here sucking her thumb. I bite my nails a lot when directing is happening. Like, I chew on them. I don't bite them.
I used to chew my nails, but now that's why I keep them painted all the time. Little known fact. I mean, I do like the way it looks, but also I pick my cuticles. And if they're painted, I won't do it because I don't want it. Then it peels the paint, and then that drives me crazy because I'm OCD. Because if I get any chips at all, I have to fix it immediately.
That's a good thing then. That helps you.
So,
but I don't chew them, like bite them and chew them. I just chew, just like
yeah.
I don't know. I used to pop my knuckles and chew my nails.
I still pop my knuckles.
But I can bend my fingers, and I don't know if you can hear that. Every time it's like there's air trapped in these knuckles here. Mm-hmm. What is a classic novel that you love or that you've read? Well, of course you've read it. What kind of question is that? What's a classic novel that you love? Not that or that you've read.
Well, maybe I read it but didn't love it. It has to be both.
That's true.
Not only have I...
Okay, because Brie gave me that one. I was like, wait a minute.
Not only have I read it, but I loved it.
Yes, that.
So by classic, you mean like Pride and Prejudice?
Yeah. Or just something that is Little Women, something that's considered a classic. Not a new classic, but an old classic.
What's the Jane... Because I actually do like Jane Austen, but there's one that it's...
Persuasion? No, is that Jane Austen?
Yeah, I think it's Persuasion is one that a lot of people haven't talked about that I like.
What new beginning in your life are you most looking forward to? That's kind of more centered toward it's 2020, it's a new decade. What are you looking forward to?
Oh, well, I'm going to graduate, so that'd be good. Here's something else people don't know about me. I am graduating almost a year late.
Why?
Because of the shows.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. Because it's funny because I'm really organized and I plan ahead and all that, but I also just every once in a while have major lapses, and I just didn't look at my schedule, my school schedule, and I did not realize that exactly when I was directing last time and this time I was scheduled to take 2 classes at once, and I'm like, there's no way I can direct a show and do 2 classes. So last time I just dropped it to 1 class, but because I did that, it messed me up to where this term that we're in right now, there's nothing for me to take. So I'm taking a break. I had to like sign all these papers and like step back. They call it stepping back, and then I'll start back up again in April So I won't finish up again until, that's why when you ask me for the next time, I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I have to graduate.
Yeah, I gotta get this done, y'all.
It's no big deal. Like, it's totally was my fault. It is what it is.
What is something from your childhood that you keep close to your heart?
Oh, I just found it today, too, when I was cleaning out Arden's stuffed animals. I have an old Pooh Bear that I got. I remember the birthday, but I think I was probably like maybe 5 or 6. He went to England with me.
When we were in
He
England.
did.
When
He
Pooh
did.
and I were in
Pooh went
England.
to England with me. And it was like I was cleaning out her stuffed animals, and it was buried down under all her stuffed animals. I'm like, oh, there's Pooh, because Mary had him, and then I guess she gave him to Arden. He's really falling apart, and I'm like, I really need to put him up somewhere.
Yeah.
And I had a pile of stuff to go up in the attic, and I couldn't bear to do it. I was like, nobody puts Pooh in the attic.
That's right.
So I couldn't bear it.
She couldn't bear it.
But I really couldn't. I'm not a sentimental person at all. I don't
But
keep
it's Pooh.
anything. But I was like, I can't put him in a box and stick him in an attic. It just doesn't seem right to me. So I just put him up on the shelf in my closet.
There you go. There's lots. When I was a little kid, it was sort of like, I'm sure, but I'm not sure that the animals come to life. At night.
Right.
This is before Toy Story.
Right.
So I would put them on my shelf, and I would tell them goodnight every night. I'm like, I'm not sure if you guys come to life or not, but if you do, good night.
Right. Seriously, because there is a tiny part of my child that's still stuck back there that thinks he's gonna open up his eyes and be in a box in the
And
attic
suffocate.
and be scared,
Yes.
or just be scared.
Yeah. We can't have that.
Jack did that. Like, I actually caught him. He had all his stuffed animals set out on his bed, and he kept like jumping around the corner with us trying to catch him. I sat there and watched him for a while.
That's cute. Which March sister do you think you'd be? There's one you want to be, but which one do you think you'd be? Everybody wants to be Joe.
Right. But not everyone is Joe.
Right. Nobody wants to be Amy.
But that's who I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because how I was when I was a kid. Like, I wasn't mean. And that's why I feel I don't like that sometimes she gets that label of being really cruel, because she's not. I can understand not having a concept of other people and not recognizing that there are other things going on. And that's not necessarily with the mean intent, and I don't think Amy is either. It really is just being naive and not having someone say, hey, look around. That's why I like Marmee too, because she's always like, look around you, look at what else is going on, look at these kids that don't have anything to eat.
Yeah.
Why are we worried about hair ribbons? Like,
Yes.
I didn't have a lot of that guidance when I was growing up, so I can identify with Amy for sure. And then she got better. She matured.
it's true. That is very true.
So she
was artistic and all
and I
that.
feel like
But I think
did.
my little hard spot in my heart for Amy is because I know she burned the book.
Right.
So that's real hard for me to be like,
But there's also that part of you that says everyone's capable of that stuff.
that's true.
And
That's
if you
very
say
true.
that you're not, or if not you personally, but if the person says I'm not capable of being that way,
Then they've never been really mad
or hurt.
or hurt.
Usually it comes out of hurt, not anger. I could see myself being a little bit of Meg as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just especially that side of her, and that this is part of her character that I'm hoping to encourage with Peyton. But that side of her where she really, really wants to be good and accept her fate, but also really struggles with it. It's hard for her because I think she, as the oldest, she probably remembers when it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
When they had more money.
Yeah. And I wouldn't compare myself with like the goodness of Beth. I think the homebody, the not liking to go out, the shy,
Right.
that part of Beth is not the pure angelic.
Oh, definitely. When the line where they're like talking about the dance, and she's like, "I really just want to stay home. Can I just stay
Can I
home?"
just
And I'm
stay
like,
home?
"Oh, Beth, I would stay home with you."
Beth. Yeah.
And maybe that's why another reason why the show and the book are so appealing is because people can identify with different aspects of the girls, and connect with them.
Okay, well, we're down to our final 3 questions, which is the same that we ask everybody.
Okay.
You can do this in 2 different ways, or you can choose. What is your best advice for other actors, or you can answer it best advice for other directors, or you can do both.
Trust yourself.
In both cases?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. What would you tell the 10-year-old version of yourself?
Not to worry so much and take things so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Things always work out, not the way you want them to, not when you want them to, not how you want them to, but they do work out.
If you knew you could do something without fail, what would you choose to do?
I think I'd just do what I'm doing. Be nice to get paid a tiny bit more so I could go back to England.
Yeah. So you can say, when I went back to England.
With poo.
With poo.
With poo.
In my pocket. Wait a minute.
Buddy, we made it.
You take
It's like
pictures.
poo in your pocket.
Yeah. You take little pictures of you and poo, and you just hashtag poo in my pocket.
I do have pictures.
You just happen to say
I have pictures of me and poo
Oh.
in England.
I want to see those.
And my friend.
Recreate those.
Huh?
I want you to recreate those.
Okay. No, but what was the question again?
If you knew you could do something without fail, what would you choose to
Yeah.
do?
And I really think I would just do what I'm doing.
All right, so I'll do one more bonus last question. Do you have any favorite memories from your time at TTD so far? I feel like you get special questions because you're a founder and you've been here since the literal beginning.
You get the VIP questions.
The VIP questions.
Um,
So one of the things that really struck me is I think it was after Annie. We were walking up. Brian and I were one of the last ones to the cast party at McDonald's, and I had this very "It's a Wonderful Life" feeling. Because McDonald's, it was late. It was like 11 o'clock, so it was past, they were staying open for us. And it was full. It was just full of only TTD people. And I could see them as we walked up, and they were talking to each other, and there was people that were going back and forth to tables, and they were laughing. And I had this feeling like if the Theatre Downstream did not exist, this McDonald's would be empty right now, and none of these people would have met each other. And there was I remember Chris Meyer was in there, he's somebody from Indiana, and all of these people from all these different places that we were all living and existing and didn't know the other one existed. And it just had that moment of, I am so happy.
this is our
Hard,
community.
yeah, as hard as it is, this is one of those moments where I go, I'm so happy we did this. So that was my Wonderful Life moment. I know I got a little teary.
Oh.
Okay. Do you have one of those?
It's weird. I don't have one like that. I just have like little snippets that I see in my head. Muno Buffalo in the first performance, and I was, in addition to directing and being 7 months pregnant, I also did the sound,
Yes, she did.
the lights.
Yes, she did. And but there was no monitor because we weren't wearing microphones, so she was just.
so couldn't hear.
She couldn't hear.
I had to lip read.
She was just guessing.
No, or I could lip read. Sometimes I could lip read.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because we didn't. That sound booth is awful, and you can't
Yes.
hear anything. There would be stretches. Luckily, it didn't have that many things. There would be stretches where I didn't have to do anything, and I would go and sit down in the seat, like right outside the sound booth, and just watch. Just feeling proud of you guys and what we had done. So I think about that. And Beauty and the Beast, the first and last musical I'll ever direct. I think it directed itself. Personally, that's my feeling.
Yeah, it did. It was another one of those we're just gonna get this
I'm
done.
just gonna hang on and
Yeah.
just I'm in for the ride.
Yep.
But I was really proud of us too because that was huge
Yeah.
to do that.
Yes.
Right. That was only our second show, right?
No, it was
No, it was after.
It was our fourth. So we had done Moon Over Buffalo. We did the first Holiday Homecoming, and
Right.
we did It's Complicated.
And I missed the first holiday homecoming because I was having.
Yeah.
That's when I had Arden.
You had to baby.
And then I was in. It's Complicated.
And this is Beauty and the Beast was the show where we said, okay, this is either gonna happen or not happen because it hadn't been very well attended, and we just needed this really big show to see
And it
if
happened.
It did. It did. I remember opening night. I remember the cast thinking that no one had really enjoyed it after Be Our Guest. And I think Lori and I snuck out to the side there, and we were watching them sing Be Our Guest, and the audience just looked like. They thought there was no response, but we could see the audience, and they were just gobsmacked. They couldn't even. It was just too much spectacle. They were like, I can't.
It was the projection. Because that's
right.
what I was doing.
Jill's running projection.
It was just images that we found free
Yes.
online, and
Yes.
I'm like hitting the space bar.
Yes, she did. Yes,
Literally, that's
she was.
what I did.
And do you remember you lost all the images right before the show opened?
I do.
A few days before the show opened, they just deleted off the computer.
Yeah, and they were saved on Google Drive. I have no idea how we lost them. Yeah, I found them all again though.
That's good. And then you hit your space bar. She's backstage going, click.
That's exactly with people running around all crazy behind me, and I'm just like,
Click. This is my job. I hit the space bar.
that's fine.
Put that in the program.
Space bar.
I
Space
should
bar
put that
hitter.
on my resume.
You should hit the space bar in Beauty and the Beast. Well, thank you very much for appearing on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Special thanks to Jill Barnes-Moore. Next week, we sit down with John Grant, who plays Mr. Lawrence in Little Women. Very special thanks to the sponsors of Little Women: Mary Bryant, Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance, and the bookstore at the Berry Center. This episode of Getting Real was executive produced, edited, and written by me, Ashley Raymer-Brown.
It was produced, edited, and co-written by me, Bree Highshoe.
Music was provided by Final Cut Pro, and artwork was created by Ashley Raymer-Brown. That's me, and Bree Highshoe.
That's me.
Getting Real is a separate entity from the Theatre Downstream. The thoughts and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Theatre Downstream or the sponsors of their shows. Thanks for listening.